Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Vaden Barth, and I'm an education program manager at Google who helps share out digital and computer science education. Today, I'm here with a very special person whom I actually met kind of a few years ago when he was still in grade school. And we're here today celebrating with this special person because it's Computer Science Education Week, and we're celebrating Hour of Code. So without further ado, I would like to welcome to our conversation today, Victor Acuna. Hi, Victor.
Hello.
So Victor and I actually met probably 7 years ago when I was working on a program called CS First, which CS stands for Computer Science. And I was sharing it with a school district south of Los Angeles in the town of Linwood, and the school district, Linwood Unified School District. And Victor, you were a fifth grader there at the time, right?
Yes, it was.
So let me tell you, because Victor may not know this backstory. That school system and the teachers there were really curious and skeptical about whether they could bring in computer science to their schools. And I said, hey, we have this new project in this new program, CS First at Google. Please give it a try. Teachers don't need experience. Students don't need any previous experience, and you can learn to code. The teachers were really not sure it was going to work, but it turned out to be such a great experience for Hour of Code that the next year, their school system went one-to-one with devices, and they started teaching all of the fifth graders CS First. And actually, there was a CS First coding club before school, and Victor was in that class. So fast forward to this year, I'm at an event in September, and I actually ran into Victor's fifth grade teacher. Am I right there, Victor?
Yeah, that's right.
So when I was chatting with her, she said, do you know we actually have a student who was in that first CS First class of students. They've graduated, and this student is a UCLA. Well, I'll have to let you tell it, but he has a special career that was inspired by computer science. So, Victor, tell us a little bit about yourself. Um, where you grew up. What was it like growing up as a child?
Mm, Sure. So I actually grew up in the city of Linwood, as you mentioned before. It's made up of majority low-income people. We are made up of majority Hispanic and Black people. And being that we are from a low-income community, we actually it was very difficult for us to be able to access things like computers or Wi-Fi due to it being pretty expensive at the time, and it still is now. So we had to rely on the technology that was available at our schools. That was pretty much how we first got our very first interactions and introductions to computer science through the CS First program that was at our school, and that was also my very first introduction to it myself, and that actually inspired me to be able to major in computer science at UCLA.
So you're at UCLA now studying computer science. And I guess I have a question around a little bit of that. Yes, to your point, we absolutely need to make computer science and educational resources like computers and the ability to access education curriculum easier, especially for Black and Hispanic people. In fact, we don't have enough of that type of person even working in the tech industry, and it's something that we're really working hard to change with programs like CS First, which by the way is free, which is one of the reasons. It's really simple, it's easy, but I think the fact that it's free really helps. And there are lots of programs and special projects that kids can start trying for free, not just CS First at Google. But if you go to hourofcode.com, and we're going to share some resources in after the video here with the chat with Victor, but you'll be able to access a lot of different projects from all sorts of places on the code.org website, which is actually hosting Hour of Code every year. And if I'm not mistaken, this is their 10th anniversary, I think, in their very first Hour of Code. So it's a pretty big year this year. We're celebrating that. I do have a question because I know culture and family is really important in the Hispanic culture in particular. Can you talk to me about, did you have brothers and sisters? What did they think about your interest in coding? What did your parents think? If you had extended family, like what was that like when you first came home and was like, hey, I'm really interested in this.
Mm. Yeah. So my parents were actually pretty supportive of me when I told them like, hey, I want to major in computer science, and that was actually in fifth grade. I believe I told them like right after the CS first program ended, because I found it to be pretty interesting. They didn't know what it was at first, but they were still pretty supportive of it. They're like, yeah, go ahead. Um, uh, when I went to the library, I think I believe it was like a week after that was when I showed them like a little bit more in depth of what computer science was, and they seemed okay with it, and I believe I told them right after like, is it okay if you guys buy me like a um it was like a coding kit that they had for like Arduino components, which is a microcontroller that they could program to do whatever you want. So I asked them for that kit, and they ended up buying it for me. So I was using that kit nearly every single day for about a month, just doing random projects. I would actually stay up like really late trying to do them, and they would always tell me like, "Hey, go to sleep. You're not letting us sleep because you're over here tinkering with all of these projects." Um, but yeah, in the end, I would show them like all of those projects that I did. I would do like a little traffic light. I would end up doing a little remote control car, things of that sort. And it actually got the interest of my siblings when they saw all of those projects, because they were like, "Oh, that's pretty cool. How did you do that?" So then I would show them like step by step how I did all of that, and it actually inspired them to also want to major in computer science now as well. So whenever I'm doing a project, they're always like right next to me, trying to see like how I do them, so that later on they could do them as well. So
Yeah.
they're all pretty supportive of it, and from the looks of it, it looks like they all want to major in STEM as well.
Well, we love hearing that. Yeah, and it's really interesting. I didn't come from a computer science background. I actually do just a little bit of coding. I think CS first is where my coding ends, but I was good in math growing up, and they didn't really encourage girls to go into sciences, and definitely computer science. I'm so much older than you guys, but it was a burgeoning thing and certainly wasn't something that they suggested to girls. And by the way, it was something that was so technical back then. If we had known kind of all the artistic things that you can do with computer science now, I might have been more interested. I tended to be interested in music and art. If I had known about graphic design and animation and even digital music production, like that might have really been interesting to me. So there are lots of different jobs and places where you can use computer science. I don't think we need to feel like that you're what's the word I'm looking, that you're restricted to be in the tech industry, for example. So I'm glad to hear that. Love hearing that your siblings are interested as well. Tell me a little bit about growing up in school, because I know you started getting some really ambitious ideas, like you competed in some competitions or something, right?
Hmm. Yes. So after the CS first program, in middle school, I ended up joining an engineering club. And right there is where they kind of exposed me a little bit more in depth about Arduinos. So before that, I was only doing like simple projects, but after joining the club, we ended up doing a lot more advanced projects. We ended up doing stuff like search and rescue robots. We did prosthetic arms, things of that sort. And we would end up competing at UC Irvine in around March of every year. And we ended up placing top four, I believe, in almost all of the years. And it was really interesting. It was all group projects, so we would always have to collaborate. There wasn't a single project where you would have to like work alone, and that ended up helping a lot, especially since in like computer science majors, you always majority of time you need to be collaborating as a group to be able to complete tasks that are given. And what else? Oh, in middle school, I also ended up joining the science fair. So those projects that I ended up doing in Mesa, I ended up moving them over towards the science fair and competing there with the same exact project. And the first year that I did it, I ended up being disqualified because they told me that my project was too advanced for me. They were saying that, oh, probably somebody did it for you. So for that reason, we're going to have to disqualify you. And normally, I feel like a normal reaction would be probably like just giving up or just stop doing whatever you were doing. But it made me try harder. Like just knowing the fact that they told me that it was something too advanced for my age, it made me know that like, hey, what I'm doing, it's something advanced, and I should probably keep going at it, you know. So I continued doing the same projects. I ended up improving on them. I ended up expanding on those things. And it also pushed me to learn a lot more programming languages in the future. So by the end of my high school years, I ended up learning over 4 different programming languages. And I think that's all because of of the words that the judges told me. It was a little push that I needed to keep going.
Yeah, well, first of all, I think it's unfortunate and really sad that they didn't believe that you did it. I mean, that just goes to show that, sometimes we have to prove to adults that, kids can really do so much more than we give them credit for. And I hope we change that perception, right? Especially because kids coming up today are so quick to learn when they get a screen in their hands, whether it's a mobile phone or a new video game. Like, you guys figure it out so quickly. And I say you guys because I have a son as well, but there are things I can't do, and I'll call my son and he fixes it like that. And if he doesn't know how to do something, he goes and finds out on YouTube. I mean, he'll come in and he will have done some technical thing with coding. I'm like, how did you do that? And he's like, I saw a TikTok video. He actually follows something called Tech Talk on TikTok. So he Googles and explores different content and learns what other folks are doing. And I said, hey, if you're going to play video games, why don't you learn to build video games? So he's done some things of that nature, and a lot of it has been through summer camps, summer programs, after school things. But then a lot of it is just online video, checking out what's done and seeing what's out there, what other people are doing. I'm curious, when you learn those 4 languages, which is incredible. I mean, lots of times some kids know they want to do this, but maybe they'll get one language and then get to college and learn everything. You were really ahead of the game, I'm assuming. But did you look for things to do after school? Did you look for summer programs or things to kind of keep going and keep feeding your passion there?
Yes. So after school, I would join majority of the clubs that were at my high school. It didn't really matter to me like if it was STEM based or not. I would join pretty much all of them. And then to learn the programming languages, I actually took community college courses because my school offered something called dual enrollment, which
Mm-hmm.
enrolling in both high school and college at the same time. So I enrolled in that, and I ended up taking some programming language courses as well as some other courses that were related to other STEM fields, just so I could gain like a little idea of what those majors are like, and maybe like I would want to major in it. But in the end, what captivated my interest the most was computer science. So I ended up sticking with that, and I would also rely on YouTube tutorials as well from time to time to be able to teach myself, because there were some things that they taught you in school, and then there are other things that you can only find online.
For
And then
sure.
yeah, and then also, what else did I do? I also did as mentioned before, I did a few projects during my free time, just kind of like as a hobby. Uh, but yeah, that's pretty much all I would do during my free time related to computer science.
That's very cool. And I'm curious, like, do you have favorite project or thing you created? Number one. And then number two, what is your favorite thing about computer science?
Yeah. So my favorite project would probably have to be the smart shopping cart that I did last year. So during the time and also right now, COVID is a thing, and we were trying to think about how to prevent the spread of COVID, and we realized that shopping carts are a magnet for COVID to spread, right? Because everybody's using them and they're not really being disinfected that much. So COVID is lingering on those shopping carts. So what if we created, what if we came up with a way to make the shopping cart autonomous and just be able to follow you around rather than you touching it, and then that would prevent the spread of COVID. So that's what
Oh,
we.
wait. What, so if we have younger students listening, can you explain what autonomous means?
Yeah,
Hands-free?
yeah. So autonomous is pretty much hands free. So you're not really uh, getting in contact with with the shopping cart at all. It's pretty much going to be following you wherever you go without any contact at all.
Got it. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Okay, carry on.
So we ended up doing that. We implemented the Arduino skills that we had. So we ended up using the Arduino as a microcontroller for that, and we were going to be using an actual shopping cart at first, but due to cost, we had to actually create a miniature version of it. So it was around 2 feet by 2 feet, which wasn't too big, um, but as a prototype, it was pretty good. And the way that it would work is it actually had a Bluetooth sensor. So then the shopping cart would automatically connect to your phone with the help of that, and it would use the GPS coordinates of your phone to be able to follow you around. So those GPS coordinates were sent to the microcontroller, and then the microcontroller would interpret that to be able to follow you around. And then it also had obstacle avoidance sensors. So in case there were like any obstacles in the way, such as like falling groceries or things of that sort, it would avoid it and go around it. So that's what we ended up doing for our senior project, and it worked to a certain extent. Unfortunately, there's still some stuff that needs to be fixed, um, because it ended up getting confused whenever there was multiple obstacles around it.
Hmm.
Um, so we might need to figure out a way to be able to fix that, and that's what I'm hoping to do. I'm hoping that probably by the end of my college years, I'll be able to come up with like a more modernized version of it, that's more improved than the one I did in high school. But yeah,
So just a pause before we go anywhere. That is so cool. And there are a couple of things I want to point out. You mentioned Arduino, which that's a coding language, right?
yeah, that's the microcontroller, and then it's also the name of the programming language that it uses.
Got it. And then secondly, and something that's really important for kids to understand is that you have to test things. And sometimes your plans, your original plans, you kind of have to make adjustments and changes. You know, you'll fail even and say, okay, well, we learned this. Like they tell us here at Google all the time, even if you fail, it's not a failure because you learned something. And as long as you learn something, there's no true failure in that regard. So it sounds like you guys were testing, you realized, oh, we can't use a real shopping cart. There are costs, there are budget issues, there are things of that nature. So you go with a prototype, you're testing, you keep trying out things, you learn what things work, what things don't, but you don't give up. And I think that's really important. And it's kind of what you said earlier. It's another example of you don't give up. It makes you try harder. It's like when you went to the coding competition, it made you want to try harder next time. Would you say that that is, I know that's something we teach in CS first, but would you say that that's something that part of the culture when you're learning technology? And also I should say the third thing is you're absolutely right. Working in collaboration is so important. Most of the time, we work together, whether it were Google or at another tech company or really in tech in lots of places, you are working with someone else. It's not completely working by yourself. So that's really important because you've got a team to rely on and folks you can ask questions. Um, Sorry, I talked a lot in that time, but I just wanted to kind of get your reaction to those types of things. Like, do you find that those are trends, or those are at least characteristics of, regardless of what you do in computer science, those types of things are part of the culture in learning?
Yeah, I believe so. Because no matter what you do, you're going to have to go through a design process, and things fail. So you're going to have to pretty much go back to the drawing board, see what you did wrong, and improve from that. Because most of the time, things will not work 100% right off the bat, right? So yeah, it's definitely a lot of trial and error when it comes to that, and collaboration is needed no matter what in computer science. If you do it all alone, it's going to be very stressful, and it's going to be very time consuming. So it's always good to work as a team. Split up the work. So one person does one part, another person does another, and it will be very easier if you end up doing that. And a lot of jobs, as you mentioned, they promote collaboration. So I think that's a very good idea, and I believe that all computer science jobs should be able to implement that.
Hey guys, sorry we had to make a quick room switch here for me at Google. It's a busy day and we ran over because there's so much to talk about with Victor. So I'm going to go back to my last question, which is, what do you find that's your favorite part about coding or computer science?
Yeah. So my favorite part about coding, it would probably have to be testing the code. Because when you're running the code on the IDE, which is the software that they're using to type in the code and run it, most of the time you just have to hope for the best, right? You don't really know what's gonna be the output of it. There could be a chance that it's successful and it gives you the output that you want, or there could be a chance that there's errors. And when it comes when there's errors, well, like specifically the IDE that I use, it doesn't really tell you the type of error that you have. It just says, oh, you have an error. Now go look for it. So you have to go and see for yourself, what is it that you did wrong and where exactly did you do that mistake, and then you go and fix it, and then you run it again and hope that there isn't another mistake. But to me,
Sounds like a really tricky video game or puzzle.
yeah. So it's, to some people it might seem kind of annoying to be able to do that thing over and over again, but to me, I just find it to be I find it to be like a live and learn process, pretty much. You're learning from those mistakes, and then hopefully next time you won't make that same mistake again.
Yeah, 100%. We deal with that all the time. We have engineers that do it. Sometimes, in fact, even at Google, the problem is so frustrating, they can't find where the mistake is. They'll actually go away from their desk. They might go, play the guitar or play Rock Band, or they'll go build Legos or something else, just getting their brain to work in different ways. They'll go play basketball. They'll go for a walk, go do something else and then come back. So, um, it takes time to solve some of these complex problems as you grow. But yeah, they keep coming back, and I think it's for that same thing. They want to test. They want to see that what they built works, and that it can help help someone else, or do something amazing, which is the whole point of creating in computer science. So I have to ask. I have two questions left. The next to last one is, so what do you want to do? What do you want to be when you grow up? When you finish at UCLA, like, what's your dream?
Yes. So after I get my degree in computer science, I'm hoping that I could be able to land a job related to software development. And then I'm also hoping that maybe in the future I can be able to create some sort of app during my free time, so that I can be able to teach people how to learn these specific programming languages. Because to me, it was pretty difficult to be able to get a hold of these resources, especially since community college was pretty far away from where I live. Uh,
Mm.
so I just want to be able to make learning these programming languages a lot more accessible to more people. So I'm hoping that I could be able to create some sort of app like that, or even an app that teaches people how to code in Scratch, kind of like CS first. So maybe I might be able to work hand in hand with them. Um, and then I'm hoping that I could be able to maybe create my own video game if I can, though that one might be it might be a little bit difficult to do, especially working like as a solo project for that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I might need to find some sort of group to be able to collaborate on that. But yeah, those are pretty much my top three goals for the future.
That's amazing. And I think, you know what, you bring up such a great point is like with computer science, you can actually do two or three different things at the same time. You can have your regular job where you're like, I'm creating software, which is, you know, programs that you put on your computer that help you do work or that help you create and code, depending on what that is. And then on top of that, you've got like these other more entrepreneurial types of things where like you're creating your own app or you're creating something that's for entertainment, and that's what's really exciting is that once you get those skills you can use them forever, right? And then you can, you know, change what those project goals, but you can do multiple things. And of course, we would love to see that from you. I know we didn't even talk about, like, you've done some incredible things. You studied super hard. I think, if I'm not mistaken, you're on scholarship at UCLA. Am I right there?
Yes.
Which is amazing. Congratulations. And you're also an Amazon Future Engineer scholar or recipient, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And that's equally, guys, those are two, and guys and gals, I should say. The Amazon Future Engineer program is such um, a big step when you're trying to get there. And I don't care what color you are, what you do, how you identify. But if you can work really hard, like Victor has, and try to get to do that, like, there are opportunities and scholarship out there. Don't think that you can't do anything. Like, there's always a way. Victor, I am curious, and I won't ask him anything, but where did you find out about the scholarships? Did you learn those things from your guidance counselor? Did you how did you hear about them to know to apply for those things?
Yeah. So for the Amazon one, I got notified about it by my friend who was also applying for it at the time, and my counselor, and then we also got word of it from my science fair advisor. So all three of them, they were the ones that told me, like, hey, there's a scholarship available that covers over $10,000 per year, and it's first for students who want to major in computer science. You should maybe apply for it. So I did. I ended up I ended up working on it for about a week on the essay portions. Uh, so it did take quite a bit of work, but in the end it did pay off because I ended up getting the scholarship.
Yeah,
Uh,
congrats. But
yeah,
you're right. You have to put in the work, right?
yeah. And then for other scholarships, I just found them through a bit of a Google search, just
Yeah,
searching up.
and
Yeah,
I was going to say, and actually Google has some scholarships as well. So if you're interested in those things, please look at codewithgoogle.com to find out more, or Google just scholarships to see what you can find. But there are definite programs. And if you like a particular company, like if you like Microsoft or Apple or what have you, look particularly when you research to find scholarships from those companies or what they might sponsor. I'm sorry, I cut you off, Victor. I didn't realize. I think there was a little delay. Was there anything else you wanted to add there?
oh no, you covered most of it.
Awesome. And then the last thing, and we'll close with this. If you were, you know, back to your fifth grade self, um, what what would you tell yourself, or to tell kids that are that age now? What's your one piece of advice for them if they're hearing about this for the first time, or they think they might enjoy this because they like something about computer science already?
Yeah. So my piece of advice would probably be to take advantage of the resources that are given to you. If you have, for example, technology that's easily accessible to you, and you're interested in computer science, I would say take advantage of all of those things and try to teach yourself if you can, because there's a lot of resources online that can help you with that. As you mentioned, there's code.org, which can pretty much give you an introduction to computer science. I believe CS First also has some lessons online to teach you about Scratch. And if your school has any like STEM related clubs or um, activities available, I would say also get involved in them and do dual enrollment if you can, because I believe a lot of schools offer that opportunity as well. So I would say take advantage of that to be able to expose yourself to the many different career options that are out there, especially computer science. Um, yeah, that's pretty much the advice that I would give.
Yeah, it sounds great. And you mentioned something earlier, and I'll just tag it onto the end. Like, don't think that it stops at school. After school programs, your local libraries, your school libraries, librarians really get a lot of information now. So if you don't know how to start, or you feel stuck like you can't teach yourself, ask an adult, ask a teacher, ask someone to help you, especially at school or at your local libraries or in your local organizations, because they can certainly find out how to get you started. Um, First of all, Victor, thank you so much. Good luck with everything. You guys, Victor just finished final exams, so he is cruising into the holidays now. We could not say thank you enough, especially because, you're the proof of what 1 hour of code can do way back in 2015 or 2016, and here we are, and you're on your way to grabbing the career that you would like to have. And it's all because of the hard work and the love you have for computer science. So we just thank you so much for sharing, your experiences. It's so inspirational.
Thank you so much. It was an honor to be a part of this chat.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Hey guys, we're going to be sharing an in-depth story. It's an impact story that we're hosting on our Google site about Victor and his teacher. So please check that out. And we'll share resources as well about Hour of Code and the Google CS First project. So have a great computer science education week and a great 2023. All right. Thanks, Victor. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.